The rumors had been circling for days, whispered through the halls of Forrester Creations and echoing in the corners of Beverly Hills, that Thomas Forrester was leaving Los Angeles. At first, no one believed it. Not Ridge, not Brooke, not even Hope, who had long since learned to stop underestimating the man Thomas had become. But one morning, he was just gone. No goodbye, no explanation, only a folded sketchbook on his desk and a single, handwritten message scrawled across the final page. Don't send Luna back to prison. The words were strange, stark, out of context, they made no sense. Brooke found the sketchbook by accident while looking for a signed approval for a new design line. She stared at the note, her stomach tightening. It read like a plea. Or worse, a confession. Brooke, being Brooke, assumed the worst. She went straight to Ridge. I think Thomas did something illegal, she said without preamble. This isn't just him running off. There's something darker going on. Ridge was already on edge. He hadn't heard from his son in over 48 hours. Calls went straight to voicemail. Texts were left unread. Thomas's apartment was empty. No forwarding address. His passport was missing. Ridge didn't argue. He didn't even ask for details. He just left. Within hours, he was on a flight to Europe, armed with one blurry ATM security photo from Paris and a list of names no one in Los Angeles recognized. Old contacts, fringe designers, former classmates. He followed leads through Milan, then Madrid, and eventually wound up in a coastal town in southern France, where Thomas had supposedly booked a one-week stay in a remote artist residency. But Thomas wasn't there, hadn't checked in, hadn't even shown up. What Ridge did find was far more disturbing. While questioning locals at a bar near the residency, someone mentioned an American man, alone, intense, always scribbling in a leather-bound journal, and asking questions about a girl. He kept talking about Aluna. Said she was in danger. That she had something people wanted to bury, the bartender recalled. Ridge pressed harder, and that led him to a private investigator who had spoken to Thomas once. Briefly, and only because Thomas paid him double the standard rate to dig into a social media case from nearly 2 years ago. A mysterious death, viral for a week, then gone. The case had haunted the French tabloids at the time. A young woman found dead near the Seine. Presumed suicide, but her name, her face, unmistakable. Luna's cousin, Celeste, the same woman who had vanished from the fashion scene after a series of erratic posts accusing unnamed designers of exploitation, cover-ups, and criminal behavior within the European fashion industry. Her final post before her death, they know what they did. They want me quiet. If anything happens to me, follow the sketches. The post had been dismissed as paranoid rambling. The police had ruled the death non-suspicious. But Ridge remembered it now, vividly, as he connected it to Thomas's sudden disappearance and the cryptic note about Luna. Back in Los Angeles, Brooke couldn't shake the feeling that they had misunderstood everything. She revisited Thomas's sketchbook, flipping past design after design until she noticed a recurring pattern. In almost every page, hidden in lace patterns, behind dress folds, buried under layers of ink, symbols, coordinates, names, fragments of a story. Hope, growing increasingly concerned, joined Brooke and pieced together the final designs. One of the dresses was titled Liberty in Fabric. Another, Threads of the Silenced. Luna's name wasn't on the designs, but her initials were etched faintly in the corner of each draft. That's when the second shock came. Luna disappeared. No one saw her leave. Her phone was found in the trash outside Forrester. Her apartment had been cleared out. The only clue? A surveillance photo, time-stamped just past midnight, showing her getting into a black car near the Forrester loading dock. The license plate led nowhere. The vehicle was unregistered, and just like that, she was gone. Ridge received the news overseas and immediately redoubled his search. He returned to the private investigator, this time with a bribe substantial enough to get into police archives. There, in the restricted section, was a sealed report, marked confidential, connected to Celeste's case. Inside, a list of American names. One stood out, Thomas Forrester, not as a suspect, as a witness. Apparently, he had been in France the week of Celeste's death but never told anyone. He'd seen her, had coffee with her the day before she died. They'd talked about Luna, about the pressure, the threats, the industry's silence. Thomas had tried to come forward before, but the file was buried. The only reason Ridge even saw it was because the investigator hacked into an old backup server. Suddenly, it all made sense. Thomas hadn't run away. He had been digging, protecting Luna, trying to uncover the truth behind Celeste's death and whoever was still trying to bury it. Whoever had the reach to make people disappear. Back in LA, the media frenzy had already begun. Forrester heiress missing. Hope Logan connected to international mystery? Paparazzi stalked every Forrester family member. Rumors exploded online. Some claimed Luna had fled the country. Others accused Thomas of kidnapping her. Some even suggested they were working together to expose a fashion conspiracy larger than anyone could imagine. Then came the leak. A 10-second audio clip surfaced on social media. A woman's voice. Breathless. Scared. They said if I don't disappear, I'll end up like Celeste. Then a male voice. I won't let that happen. I swear. Experts confirmed the voices were Luna and Thomas. Hope, feeling helpless and betrayed, turned to Steffi, who had always been suspicious of Luna's sudden rise at Forrester. But even Steffi couldn't ignore the signs anymore. Luna wasn't a threat. She was a target. With pressure mounting, Ridge went silent. Then, 2 days later, he returned, alone, and handed over a drive to Brooke. Play it, he said. The video was raw, unedited. It showed Thomas in a hidden camera recording, confronting a man in a gray suit in a darkened Parisian cafe. The man had been part of the fashion council Celeste once accused. Their conversation was damning. Payments, bribes, silencing tactics. And at the end of the clip, the man leaned forward and said, "No one will care what a dead girl said. Or what her cousin knows. That's the industry." The fallout was immediate. Interpol got involved. Subpoenas were issued. A multi-country investigation was launched. And finally, Luna was found. She had been hiding under a false name at a safe house Thomas had arranged weeks in advance. He knew this day was coming. Luna was safe but shaken. Thomas returned days later, beard grown, thinner but alive. And when he walked into Forrester Creations, no one spoke. Not Ridge. Not Brooke. Not even Hope. He didn't come for applause. He came for truth. And he brought it with him. Evidence. Names. Testimonies. A portfolio of designs and journal entries that chronicled not just his own struggle, but the lives of those silenced by the fashion elite. Brooke looked at him, tearful. That sketchbook. The note. I thought it was a confession. Thomas looked back, voice calm but tired. It was. But not the kind you thought. He turned to Luna, took her hand, and said the words that changed everything. We're not hiding anymore. And just like that, the silence broke. Not just in Los Angeles but across the fashion world. Threads had been pulled, and the whole fabric was unraveling. The air was thick with resolution when Thomas walked away from Forrester Creations. He had done what he came to do. The evidence was turned in. Luna was safe, and the machine that had silenced too many voices for too long was finally breaking down. But he didn't stay to watch it burn. He disappeared again, no goodbye, no address, no closure. Just vanished. And for a moment, it felt like the storm had passed. Until the call came. It was Ridge who answered. His phone buzzed in the middle of a late dinner at Il Giardino. He barely glanced at the screen, private number, and almost let it go to voicemail. But something in his gut told him to answer. The voice on the other end was panicked. A housekeeper. Screaming. "Mr. Forrester, it's Brooke, she's been attacked. At the estate. You need to come. Now." Ridge didn't ask questions. He dropped the phone and ran. By the time he reached the Logan estate, flashing red and blue lights painted the walls. The main door was broken. Paramedics were already wheeling out a covered body. Donna was there, sobbing uncontrollably. Katie stood frozen on the porch, blood on her hands from trying to revive Brooke before the paramedics arrived. Hope was nowhere to be seen. "Tell me she's alive," Ridge said, breathless, trembling. No one answered. The sheet was lifted just enough for him to see her face. Brooke Logan. Dead. The media had a name for it within hours, the Forrester estate murder. And like a match dropped in gasoline, the speculation ignited immediately. Who would want Brooke Logan dead? Ridge didn't speak to reporters. He didn't speak to anyone. For the first time in decades, he had no words. The crime scene revealed signs of a struggle. Brooke had fought. Defensive wounds on her hands. Shattered glass on the floor. No forced entry. Nothing stolen. But the brutality of the attack sent a message. This wasn't random. It was personal. And then came the twist that changed everything. Detective Baker called Ridge into the precinct the next morning. There, on a monitor, was security footage pulled from a neighbor's surveillance camera across the street. Time stamped 11:42 p.m. Just hours before Brooke's body was discovered. A man, hooded, tall, lean, slipping through the Logan estate gate. Ridge's blood ran cold. He knew that silhouette. It was Thomas. Or someone who moved exactly like him. The footage was grainy. Not clear enough for an ID. But enough to raise suspicion. Baker didn't say it outright. But the implication was loud and clear. "Do you know where your son is?" Ridge didn't answer. Because he didn't know. Luna was brought in for questioning next. She looked broken, pale, and shaken. Thomas wouldn't hurt Brooke, she said. He respected her. She was family. But her voice quivered. Her hands trembled. Because deep down, even she couldn't be sure anymore. Hope finally resurfaced after nearly 24 hours off the grid. She arrived at the precinct looking hollowed out. Her relationship with her mother had always been complicated. But murder? That shattered even the most strained of bonds. Thomas loved my mom, she told Baker. He wasn't capable of this. Not anymore. People are capable of things you don't expect, the detective replied. Especially when they think they're protecting someone. And then came the letter. Handwritten. Postmarked from Switzerland. Addressed to Ridge Forrester. Inside, a single page. Dad, by the time you read this, you'll know what happened to Brooke. I didn't kill her, but I think I know who did. I'm sorry I left. I had to protect Luna. But now I need to protect all of you. Whatever happens next, don't come looking for me. Thomas. The police were unconvinced. To them, it read like guilt. But Ridge knew something didn't add up. Thomas may have been unstable once. He may have manipulated people, gaslit Hope, even crossed moral lines. But murder, this murder, was too far. Too precise. Too calculated. Not Thomas's style. Especially not after everything he'd just risked to protect Luna and expose the truth. So who else had motive? That's when Luna came forward with something she hadn't told the police, not yet. The night before Brooke's murder, she had received a message on a private burner phone. It was a voice recording. Female. Distorted. But the words chilled her. He's showing them everything. You think you're safe? You're not. If Brooke doesn't shut up, she'll bleed. Just like Celeste. She had ignored it, deleted it, thought it was a bluff. Now she knew better. Ridge demanded the phone. Forensics managed to extract fragments of metadata. Enough to trace the origin back to a burner device registered in Monaco. The same city Thomas had visited 2 weeks earlier. And the same place where a shell company, used to launder money through luxury fashion brands, had ties to the council Celeste tried to expose. This wasn't about Thomas. This was about retribution. Brooke had started poking around after Thomas left. Asking questions. Contacting old industry contacts in Europe. Trying to understand what had really happened to Celeste. What Thomas had really uncovered. And someone decided she got too close. The next week, another body turned up in Zurich. The same private investigator Thomas had hired earlier in France. Cause of death, ruled a suicide. But Ridge had seen enough to know better. This was a cleanup operation. Coordinated, cold, and far from over. Still, the police continued to focus on Thomas. With no alibi, no witness, no direct evidence clearing him. Then, out of nowhere, an encrypted file was emailed to Hope from an anonymous sender. She opened it. A video. 20 minutes long. Thomas. Speaking directly to camera. If you're watching this, something went wrong. I wasn't supposed to leave this behind. But I'm scared they'll find me before I can finish what I started. I know who's behind it. The same people who killed Celeste. The same people who are trying to bury the truth again. I think they got to Brooke. I should have warned her sooner. He looked off camera. Someone said something. His face changed. If anything happens to me, follow the money trail. Look into Denova. Look at the contracts Luna signed last year. Look at the buyers. That's where the truth is. That's where they are. The screen went black. Hope collapsed. Ridge grabbed the file and turned it over to Baker. Finally, the investigation shifted. Interpol reopened the Celeste case. The murder of Brooke Logan became part of a larger probe into international corruption in the fashion industry. And Thomas, though still missing, was no longer the prime suspect. But his location remained unknown. Some said he was hiding in the Alps. Others claimed he was deep undercover with whistleblowers preparing a global exposé. No one could confirm. All they had were scattered messages. Anonymous emails. Drops of intel. And silence. Until one final package arrived at Forrester Creations. Inside, another sketchbook. Cover burned. Pages torn. But on the first sheet, in bold ink, this doesn't end with Brooke. And it wouldn't.